Hey guys, we're going to be doing things a little different now. Instead of uploading a lesson on Tuesday and doing Fun Fact Friday, I'm going to do a lesson and Fun Fact Friday both on Fridays. So every Friday it's going to be a lesson, and then after the lesson I'm going to do Fun Facts. Okay. Today we're going to talk about Joseph and his brothers. Jacob had 12 sons: Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulon. Those were the sons of Leah. Gad and Asher, the sons of Zilpah, Leah's servant girl. Dan and Naphtali, those were the sons of Bilhah, Rachel's servant. And Joseph and Benjamin, which were Rachel's sons. Joseph was Jacob's favorite. He should have known it would lead to trouble, but Rachel had died when Benjamin was born. And Jacob had loved Rachel so much he could not help loving her sons more than the other children. And he did not even try to be fair. He spoiled Joseph and dressed him in a special coat, one that should have been given to Jacob's first son, Reuben. This made all the brothers jealous, and they hated Joseph. There was more trouble because Joseph had dreams, and in his dreams his brothers and his father, too, were all bowing down to him. Even Jacob was cross when Joseph boasted about his dream. One day, Jacob sent Joseph out to check that his brothers and the flocks were well. But when they saw Joseph coming, they decided to kill him. Reuben, who was hoping to rescue the boy, later persuaded them not to kill him there and then. Now he was sold as a slave. They threw him into this dry well, he said, and they agreed. But while Reuben was away looking after the sheep, some traders passed by on the way to Egypt. The other brothers sold Joseph to them for 20 pieces of silver. When Reuben returned, it was too late. They took Joseph's special coat and stained it with blood. They then went home and showed it to their father. Jacob wept. He cried. He was sad, thinking that wild animals had torn Joseph to pieces. He would not be comforted. Meanwhile, Joseph had been sold as a slave to Potiphar, an officer of the king of Egypt. Joseph was a slave in a foreign land, but he was not alone. God was with him. And Potiphar was soon so pleased with his new slave that he put him in charge of his household and all his business. Joseph was good looking, and Potiphar's wife fell in love with him. But he was also loyal to his master and would not make love to her. Then Potiphar's wife grew angry and told lies about Joseph to her husband. She said that Joseph had attacked her. Potiphar was furious. He had Joseph flung into the king's prison, but God was still with him. He won the governor's trust and was put in charge of all the other prisoners. One of them was the king of Egypt's butler, the man who served his wine. Another was the king's baker. One night both men had strange dreams. The next morning, when Joseph came to bring their food, he found them very worried. What could these dreams mean? In Egypt in those days, people took their dreams seriously. Every dream had a meaning. God can show us the meaning of dreams, Joseph said. So the butler and the baker told Joseph their dream, and God showed Joseph what they meant. The butler had dreamt of a vine with 3 branches. He picked the grapes and squeezed the juice into the king's cup and gave it to him. In 3 days' time, Joseph said, the king will set you free and you will have your old job back. Please be kind enough to mention me to the king and help me to get out of prison. The butler promised. The baker had dreamt he was carrying 3 bread baskets on his head, full of pastries for the king, but the birds were eating them. In 3 days' time, Joseph said, the king will bring you out of prison, but he will cut off your head. Everything happened just as Joseph had said, but the butler forgot all about his promise. 2 years later, the king had a strange dream, and no one could explain it. Then the butler remembered Joseph, and he brought him out of the prison. The king told him of his dream. The king was standing by the river Nile when 7 fat cows came out of the river. Then came 7 thin cows. The thin cows ate up the fat ones. God showed Joseph what that dream meant. There will be 7 years of good harvest, followed by 7 hungry years. Joseph told the king, "If you are wise, you will store food in the good years, so that your people will not starve in the bad ones." The king was delighted to have his dream explained. Joseph was clearly a man of God. There could be no better man to arrange for grain and crops to be stored, so the king put his own ring on Joseph's finger and a gold chain around his neck, and made him second in command over the whole land of Egypt. After 7 years, as Joseph said, the crops did not grow, and in many lands there was little to eat. But in Egypt Joseph opened up the storehouses and sold food to the people. In Canaan his father and brothers were already short of grain to make bread. At last Jacob decided to send his sons, all of them except Benjamin, to Egypt. As Jacob's 10 sons stood before the governor, asking if they might buy grain, none of them recognized their long-lost brother. But Joseph knew at once who they were. He decided to see if they were still as cruel as they had been. So he looked at them sternly. "You are spies," he said, and flung them into prison. He set them free after 3 days. But he made them promise to bring Benjamin with them next time. And he kept Simon as a hostage, to make sure they did. Then he ordered his servants to put the money his brothers had paid for the grain back in their sacks. When the brothers opened their sacks and found the money, they were very worried. Sadly, they traveled back to Canaan with the grain. Next time they must take Benjamin. But how could they persuade Jacob to part with his youngest son? When the food was finished, there was no choice. Benjamin had to go with them, or they would starve. Again they stood before the governor of Egypt, and when Joseph saw Benjamin, he could hardly hold back his tears. The brothers knelt before Joseph. "How is this old man your father?" he said. "And is this your youngest brother?" Then Joseph's servants prepared a meal, and the brothers sat down to eat. When the food was brought, Benjamin was given 5 times as much as the others, but still Joseph did not tell them who he was. Next morning, when the sacks were filled with grain, Joseph told his servants to hide his own silver cup in Benjamin's sack. The brothers had not gone far when Joseph's men caught up with them. They were looking for the thief who had stolen Joseph's cup. When Benjamin's sack was opened, there, to the brothers' horror, lay the missing cup. They all returned to the city and fell at Joseph's feet. "The man whose sack the cup was found shall be my slave," said Joseph, testing them. "The rest of you are free to go." But the brothers would not hear of it. They could not bear to tell their father that this son too had been taken from him. Judah spoke. "If Benjamin does not return with us, your father will die of grief. If I promise to bring the boy back safely, let me be your slave in his place." When Joseph heard this, he knew his brothers were truly sorry for what they had done to him all those years before. He sent his servants out of the room and then burst into tears. "I am Joseph," he said. Is my father still alive?" There was dismay on all their faces. Now Joseph could really pay them back. What would he do to them? But Joseph was speaking again. "Don't be afraid. It was God who sent me here in order to save all our lives. The harvest will be bad for 5 more years, and many will starve to death. Go home and bring the rest of the family here to live near me in the land of Goshen." And he hugged them all, and tears ran down his face. So Jacob and Joseph's brothers, their wives and their children, their servants and cattle and flocks, left Canaan and came to Egypt. Joseph took Jacob to the palace to meet the king, and then they all settled in Goshen, the best part of the land. Okay, now for our fun facts. What was the penalty in Israel for disobeying a priest? It was death. In Deuteronomy chapter 17 verse 12, "And the man that will do presumptuously, and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister there before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die, and thou shalt put away the evil from Israel." What strange phenomenon accompanied the plague of hail in Egypt? A fire that ran along the ground. In Exodus chapter 9 verse 23. And Moses stretched forth his rod toward heaven, and the Lord sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along upon the ground, and the Lord rained hail upon all the land of Egypt. God uses the weather to bring a seventh plague, the storm. God often uses weather to humble people and to demonstrate his power. Describing this as the plague of hail is only partly true. In reality, the plague is the worst thunderstorm in Egypt's history, and the death and destruction that occur are the result of both hailstones and lightning. Where in the Bible would you find the phrase, the skin of my teeth? In Job chapter 19 verse 20. My bone cleaveth to my skin, and to my flesh, and I am escaped with the skin of my teeth. To whom did Jesus promise laughter? Those who weep. In Luke chapter 6 verse 21. Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled. Blessed are ye that weep now, for ye shall laugh. And our last fun fact for this week. What is the smallest insect mentioned in the Bible? The gnat. Matthew chapter 23 verse 24. Ye blind guides which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. That was this week's lesson in fun facts. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I will be back next Friday with our lesson and our fun fact video. You all have a good weekend. Have a good week, and I will see you Friday. I love y'all. Bye.